Hello again, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had an uneventful and lovely Thanksgiving, as I did. Narcissist free, no narcs called. I was not hoovered one time yesterday, and for that I am absolutely thankful. So, when I give these talks, I want to give you some background without divulging too much personal information. Remember, we're here on the internet. Some of my videos have been duplicated and put other places, which is fine because I don't ask for any donations or I don't even put a copyright stamp on anything. I really just want you to benefit from my experience. So before I go on, I want to remind you that when you finally are able to go no contact and you go through that painful stage of, seeing how things could have been different if you weren't around one of these covert narcs, and the time that was wasted and the things that were taken away and the stuff that was destroyed and the reputations that were smeared and how you were lied to and your navigation system was all distorted when you were done with them, and you figure all that out. On the other side, it is absolutely different and so much better, I can tell you. I am not the same person. Let me rephrase that. I'm exactly the same person I've always been, but without the lens of the narcissist covering that up. I saw a topic on a channel. This isn't my topic, but it was 3 words, and it makes absolute sense. I guess you can look for it. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but the 3 words are, what are the 3 words? I had them over here a minute ago. Extortion of trust. And those 3 words, I didn't even need to watch the video. I said, yes, extortion of trust. That is it. That's it, folks, in a nutshell of what a narcissist does to us. Extortion of trust. And let's just get real about this too. I know sometimes I talk, it might be a business or it might be a sibling or a cousin or you know what? Bullshit. Let's just take it right to where it is. It's someone that's close to you. They have to be very close to you. It's either a parent or you're married to them. That's about 95% of the narcissistic abuse that we have to put up with before we understand is going to come from a parent. You're born to one of these monsters or you marry one of these monsters. And that seems to be the pattern that just repeats itself over and over again. Because your navigation system, your mind has been co-opted by a narcissist, you are going to get, it's kind of like loading software on a computer. It's really, if you have that program running, you're going to seek that same situation out over and over again. I had no idea how close some people were to each other until I finally went full no contact. And the clarity started to come, like, God, man, these people are it's like they're in the same playbook. They act the same. They do the same things. They do the backbiting, the backstabbing, the smearing your name. They'll say something, and when you bring it back up to them, they'll say they never said that. Or they won't say something, and they'll tell you that they did say it, and you forgot. It's just the same thing over and over. You remembered that wrong. I used to hear that. I'm like, what do you mean how am I remembering something wrong? And it was always, I can't be wrong all the time. That's what the narcissist will have you believe, that you are wrong 100% of the time. And that's how they get away with it. Extortion of trust. They extort your trust. If it's just some guy at the gas station or some gal at the grocery store, someone that you have just a cursory interaction with, they can't do this. It has to be somebody close to you. That's why it's so insidious and evil that these people, and I'll go and say evil, I can use that term, that works. Insidious and evil because you're close to them. And they extort. They do. They look for opportunities. They're very opportunistic and patient too. And the supply they get, they don't even have to get anything off of it except to get you upset. And pushing your buttons, that's what they love to do. What a sick mentality that is. Aren't you grateful, since this is Thanksgiving weekend, aren't you grateful for that you're not like that? I'm not like that. Even with all my character flaws and all the shit that's wrong with me, That's not part of my resume. I don't do that. That is not fun to me. I don't like it when people are upset. It does me no good. How are you supposed to get ahead? How can you create anything? How can you create a household, a healthy household, or a healthy family with someone that enjoys fucking with your mind? How can you do that? Well, you can't. That's the whole thing. And it's all because we're just not educated on what a narcissist is. Thankfully, again, and you look down the channel on a YouTube page and you'll see all these new channels. There's like hundreds of them now. So again, this is excellent because this is not an isolated instance. These aren't isolated incidences. This stuff, people are waking up to this all over. I've mentioned before that I believe that it's coming from the top down. That people have to have the proclivity or just the ignorance to be, kind of just selfish fucks anyway, but they're making it easier by manipulating government policy, by manipulating media, yes, manipulating banks. Yeah, the top down. It's kind of like that fractals or something. It's like it starts one place and it just continues. Or like a disease. And the body of the nation being the host, right? Seriously, we have got to wake up to this. It is absolutely destroying so many people. And I believe it is the root cause of nearly all the other maladies that are going on right now, whether it's the drug addiction or, broken families or, I think that societal narcissism and people behaving like fucking assholes are what's driving this. I absolutely believe that 100%. I think it's tied in 100%. That's what's going on. Not that those things don't happen anyway and that there aren't anomalies in families or death or sickness or God knows we all don't get along, but this brand, this way that people are behaving is encouraged by some people that are influencing us right now. And it's going to end. It's going to end because people are getting really, really sick of it. People want something wholesome again. They want something real again. We're looking for something that is not fake and phony. And so much of what we see is absolute trash, whether it's the fake and phony false religions, or it's the media, or they're just spinning and lying to us. People are getting really sick of that because it insults us. It insults our intelligence and it insults our soul. And when you're close to a narcissist and they're behaving that way and you can't put your finger on it, you begin to act out too until you get away from these people, till you can finally go no contact. Instant no contact is not always a good idea either. I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. There is a doctor on here, Dr. Todd Grande, and he will tell you that is not always the safest thing to do. Just go no contact. Sometimes you have to kind of weave your way out of what's going on, like I had to do. It just wasn't going to happen overnight. And then when you finally go just as low contact as you can, and you're clear and you can reflect on what's happened, things become, you get an understanding of what's happened in a way that you wouldn't have been able to if you hadn't gone no contact, if that makes sense. They're poison, folks. These people are full of hate and poison. Even though they're smiling at you, they are full of hate and poison. When they are smearing your name to the neighbors, or they're telling their family how bad you are, and no one has any. Let me tell you something. I've rolled up on people before that never met me, but they had an opinion of me. And then you know what they said later? Wow, you're not such a bad guy. I'm like, where did this come from? What the hell? What do you mean? I had no idea what was even going on. I had zero idea that I was the mark. Not the narc, but the mark. It's been said that if you are at the poker table and you don't know who the mark is, yeah, you guessed it. You are probably the mark. And that was me. I just didn't understand it. With all my faults and all my idiosyncrasies and all of that. I am not that. I can unequivocally, I can tell you, I am not a narcissist. I know some of us struggle with that sometimes because when you are being abused by one or more, or many in my case, then you begin to lash back out in ways. And I look, and I used to think about things, I don't think about past and, oh, I've done this and done some things that weren't nice. And I'm looking back now and that was really more defense mechanisms than anything. It really was. So don't beat yourselves up too hard like I did for a long time, thinking, oh my God, I did this and did this. Well, the narcissist doesn't even reflect at all on what they do. So if you're reflecting and feeling, guilty or ashamed, and yeah, we should be, we are all responsible for our actions, but when it depends on where you're at, who's doing what to you. When you're finally losing your mind and losing your temper and you're looking like a crazy person because someone's pushing your buttons because they are extorting your trust, we're human. We're ultimately responsible for our behavior, but when you find out that the narcissist has been doing this and they've been rearranging things for you to get that result, it is like an awakening and not woke. Don't say that. That's stupid. I hate that term, woke. Again, someone put that out there to make people that are waking up in other areas to look stupid. I'm woke. God. You wake up and then misuse the language, right? Saying that you're woke is not woke. When you finally wake up to these monsters and what they've been doing, they extort your trust. They're opportunistic. They wait and watch for you to make a mistake, and they will use that absolutely against you. It's the sickest form of behavior that I can even think of. And I'm telling you, I really think that this is the selfishness. These self-centered narcissists, they're more than that. It's not just I know selfish and self-centered people. Sometimes you run into that. It's not the same thing. It's much, much more destructive because they enjoy the chaos that they create. Some people are just selfish. They just get what they want. They get what they want, and they don't really care if you get what you want, and that's not the same thing. This is a much deeper level. These are disturbed spirits, people. Very disturbed spirits. So when you're away from them, you'll see the hope that I want to give you is that you're going to be a completely different person when it's over. There was another topic that I want to talk about, and I'm going to try to make sense of this. I try to breach subjects that are interesting and that the other channels aren't, maybe they haven't touched on. Sometimes I try to give it my take on it, and sometimes I don't think all the channels talk about all the subjects or the ways that narcissism can manifest itself in our lives. Okay. And it can happen in a lot of different ways. One of the ways that I think impacted me the most, that I wasted the most amount of time on, and actually it turned out to not be a waste of time because I have studied and researched spiritual matters since I was very, very young. And perhaps being born into that kind of a toxic parenting or caretakers, it maybe is what spurned that to begin with. And I'm quite certain it is. The narcissist actually does us, I hate to say this, but the narcissist actually, whether you like it or not, they actually do us a favor by helping us wake up to who we are. Okay? We are not narcissists, but the narc actually does us a favor, whether you like it or not, to help you grow into the person that you're supposed to be. I guess plants have to grow out of, manure and dirt, which is basically the level that I put the narcissist on. Shit. Anyhow, if you don't know who the mark is, you're probably it. So the topic: narcissism and the occult. This is something I haven't heard, but it's actually a big part of my story. I grew up in an area of the country that had a Christian church on nearly every corner. There was flavors of Christianity all through there. And so it had a big influence on the community where I lived. I can tell you, I have no doubt that none of those churches knew what they were talking about. I knew firsthand that these were hypocritical people. I still don't think there was anyone that was genuine in any of those. So when you grow up around that and you consider, you go, okay, well, this is a good way to live, and I guess I'll try this and hang with these people and see how that goes. And people, they'll switch their flavor of Christianity from one to another occasionally, but it's still kind of the same thing. Still, I would watch these folks. They would behave in manners that really were counter to what they were talking about every other day, but when they were with their little clique of Christers, right? So, needless to say, I transitioned through that very quickly into my late teens, and as an early or a young adult, I became very, very fascinated with, and actually a member of some of these groups. And I'm not talking about your little witchy group burning a candle. I'm talking about the real deal, the real deal occult. Very complicated systems, schools of esoteric knowledge, and I have to tell you at this point, I'm glad that I never fit in with them either. I tried my best. I mean, I spent a lot of time, an inordinate amount of time, studying these books and this material. I really don't want to divulge exactly who it is just yet, but let's put it this way, it's some of the most, and it actually is very, very real. Do not make one mistake that it is any less real than any other school of thought, because it's very real. And some of these secret organizations can be very dangerous. Remember what I said about the mark? And if you don't know who the mark is, you're probably it. That pretty much sums up my experience with those folks. Nothing is more narcissistic than trying to conjure up some sort of entity to go, I get you something. I mean, to me, again, it started to not make sense. At one point, I alienated myself from them. And I wasn't trying to do it on purpose. I just said, why do you spend so much time researching this nonsense and try to, add some, this is actually on the lower part of their systems, to get money or something. Why don't you just go get a job? Why don't you just go get a job? That seems to be easier than all this rigmarole that you're going through. And that didn't sit well with them, so I sold them. I actually had a really nice collection of some pretty rare fine books, and I said, here, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Brought them all in the next day, and sold them. So I don't know where they're at now, but I'm glad I went through it, because it lets me, there are some of that information is useful, but for the most part, it's just spinning in just nonsense. Very complicated stuff, just beyond anything that would be even useful. So you can go from this milquetoast Christianity to these really dark and heavy, schools of thought, and they're both kind of the same, really. They really are. Just kind of like the Christers and hippies are kind of the same. They really are. It's just the similarities are striking, even though they are packaged up different. So nothing is, to me, nothing is, like I said, more narcissistic than just like trying to arrange everything to suit you. And I think that's kind of what they're aiming for. Now, I know they have high systems where you're supposed to, come in contact with your holy guardian angel and things like that. But there are safer and easier ways to do that. So really what it came down to is just really a big waste of time, except for a few things that I carried with me. So Anyhow, why is it that someone that's abused by a narcissist would end up in these I'll just call them spinning. It's kind of like, how much scripture do you need? How much. That's another complicated thing. If you've ever looked at the Bible, it's like, what the hell? Really, do you really need all that? Most of the truths are really pretty simple, and the rest of it's just kind of patter for everyone else to keep talking about. It really is. It's just, again, it's inordinately complicated where it doesn't need to be. And I'm going to tell you right now, 99.9% of the people that come on my channel and start spouting shit about Christianity, they don't know what they're talking about. You guys don't even know what you're talking. I mean, literally, I'm telling you the truth. You don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea how you're being gaslit over your own religion. Jesus and Elvis, I really do like and admire both those guys. It is their fans that I have a problem with. Narcissism will drive you into schools of thought that you never even dreamed that were even around, because you're looking for the truth when it was sitting right there the whole time, when someone was doing nothing but fucking with your head. And then you end up in places, some of them more dangerous than others, some of them more unproductive than others, simply because you weren't able to understand what was happening. And when you finally understand those little nuggets of truth, whether you find it in your church or whether you find it in some mysterious occult book somewhere, those nuggets of truth that are in there, they will make sense. I'm not throwing the entire baby out with the bathwater here, okay? I know that there are benefits to having a system to live by, okay? But it's not going to make any sense until you get rid of the narcissist, or they get rid of you, for that lovely and final discard that can be absolutely devastating and painful. So you search and you search and you search and you search. That's the big favor that the narcissist did with me. I'm going to say it. I am well versed in some of those traditions. These are things that I know quite a bit about. I think that's why I get so disgusted and disturbed when people try to comment on my channel about things that are, I mean, you guys are like in kindergarten. You don't have any idea what you're even talking about. Do you have Jesus in your heart? Do you know Jesus? Probably better than you. Ooh, did I say better than you? Is that a narcissistic thing to say? Right. I see how people can get wrapped up in these things when the answer was so clear. When you get done with them, or they're done with you, and you finally see the light, and it's not going to go back that way either. Once you wake up to it, it's never going to go back. You're never going to have to worry about it again. Call it what you want. You can call it what you want. You can call it an awakening. You can call it the Holy Spirit if you want. That's fine. I have no problem with that. It's probably what it is anyway. Remember, what you think about, you bring about. Just because you find yourself in an awkward situation doesn't mean that you put some other person in an awkward situation. It could be that you made the wrong left turn somewhere and you got lost. That can happen too. That is also karma, cause and effect. That is karma and cause and effect. Just because something bad happened to you, or perceiving that it's bad. Actually, you know what? All the things that have ever happened to me that were, and I'm giving you air quotes, bad, there were big silver linings. And yeah, finding out, crawling out of the narcissist web was one of the most painful and debilitating things that I can think of for a time. And then things got better, and they continue to. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt today, folks, I am clear, absolutely clear. Someone sent in some pictures to my email, one of my subscribers. Nice gal, great photos. And she said that I could use them on the channel, so I think I'll put a couple of those up on the next video. So anyhow, I'm glad to talk with y'all again. I want you to experience what I've gotten to experience. Thanks again, and I'll talk to y'all later.